welcome back to Brewbound's ongoing coverage of the COVID-19 pandemic's effect on the beer industry. I'm Justin Fronte, coming to you from my home in Salem, Massachusetts. Today, I am joined via Google Hangout with our friends from Sycamore Brewing in Charlotte, North Carolina. We have with us Justin Brigham, a co-founder of the company. Hey, Justin, how are you?
Hey, I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
Oh, thanks for being on with us. And Sycamore's VP of Sales, Archie Gleason, who is also home in Charlotte. Hey, Archie, how are you?
Hey, I'm good. How are you guys?
Good, thanks. Good. Well, let's just get into it. So, Justin, can you describe the business a little bit more about Sycamore's mix of on-premise versus off-premise volume? And Archie, we'll let you get into distribution.
Yeah, sure.
Justin, let's start with you.
Yeah, sure. So Sycamore as a company is coming into our 6th anniversary this fall. We started much the same as many breweries with a really taproom heavy model. And over the years, we've started to diversify both in terms of our distribution footprint and product offering. So right now we brew beer, we have a cider line, a hard seltzer line, and a coffee brand.
Cool. And then Archie, let's talk about the footprint a little bit. How many states are you guys in right now?
Currently in 3. We were slated to go into our 4th middle of March. And so literally days after the world kind of turned upside down for all of us, so that was put on hold. And we're trying to kind of work through that now. But
yeah, that's really not the time you want to be launching a new market.
Yeah, it's fun to try and reach state employees when they're working from home.
Oh, gosh, yeah, so I'm sure. And what states are those? So North Carolina, South Carolina.
North Carolina, South Carolina, and then Virginia as well.
Mm-hmm. Great. And you would have been going to Georgia.
Would have been going to Georgia.
Right. We'll get there eventually, I'm sure.
We're slow playing.
So, how has Sycamore responded to the loss of the on-premise taproom business? I know you guys have a beautiful setup down there in Charlotte, and we were just talking about how we're getting into beer garden season. So what have you done to pivot to make up for that loss?
Yeah, it's painful. This time of year in Charlotte's beautiful. It's absolutely beer garden weather. We've always had a really strong taproom presence, have a really large piece of property right in the thick of it in Charlotte. And I see these beautiful days of spring coming upon us, and I just kind of mourn for what our taproom numbers would be. But it's the case that taproom's right around 40% of what our business was, and even with taproom off, we still have distribution that's carrying a lot of strength for us right now. And we're seeing package sales increases like a lot of breweries, and we've tried to pivot as best we can with a delivery service and a pickup service, and that's going well. So we certainly have left a lot of profit behind with shelter in place, but I think we've done as well as we could with putting kind of a new mechanism to get our beer into people's hands pretty well.
That's great. We've seen so much creativity, nationwide, really, in how taproom businesses are pivoting to do curbside delivery, drive-through. Do you think that can make up for what you're losing?
No, absolutely not. There's no way. We're looking at it now, and kind of top-line revenue to top-line revenue. We're doing about 25% with our delivery service that we would have done out of the taproom this time of year. Mm-hmm. But it is still good numbers. It's allowed us to keep all of our team still on payroll. We haven't had to furlough anyone. We haven't decreased pay for anyone, and that's pretty important. I'm really proud of our team with how adaptable they've been through this.
That's definitely something you can feel good about, especially since it's been going on. So I'm really glad to hear that you've been able to keep the team intact. What's it like to maintain team culture when everybody is working under stressful conditions in the brewery or all scattered and working from home?
I think on a whole, the morale is really good in our company right now. The kind of earliest days when everyone felt the most disrupted seem to be behind us. As much as you can call it a bit of an equilibrium is starting to return, which is good. And leading into all of this, we've worked really hard for years to try and put really strong leadership in place, and they're really shining right now. Just really proud of the team, and I think morale is directly linked to the strength of what we've built leading into all of this.
That's really great. Now, Archie, as the head of the sales force, what are you hearing from everybody who's been able to get out in the market? Are they seeing, is there limits on who can enter stores? Is there anything that they need to be mindful of right now?
Well, from the very beginning, we were kind of hypersensitive to what we were asking them to do, and at the same time wanted to make sure that we were putting everything in place to keep them safe. And before government folks or chain retailers asked people to be in masks and whatever other protective equipment, we had them in those, and we had that from the very beginning. One thing that we looked to do all along was kind of take our cues from our distributor partners in a way. And, as long as they're hitting it every single day, we wanted to be shoulder to shoulder with them, 6 feet from their shoulders, and kind of working the beer with them. And what we've seen is a whole new appreciation, or maybe a renewed appreciation at retail, for what a DSD person is and what service they bring, for our distributor partners, and for us to be right there talking with them, and there was kind of an arc to the conversation where at first everyone's a little bit uneasy and panicked and just trying to figure it out. And there's people that we want to talk to at the grocery store level that have whole aisles that are empty. And so, do you really want to talk about putting a stack of this over there? And after a week or so, folks started to realize, like, hey, these folks are here because they care about their business and my business, and let's work with them, let's partner with them. And so it's in that way, it's been a good thing. It's galvanized relationships that we've been working hard to build for years.
That's really great. I mean,
Yep.
There's nothing like trying times to really bring people together, particularly as business partners right now. Now, Archie, I know you and I have talked a little bit about, in my past life, I worked on a national promotions team for a national craft beer brand, and we spent so much time thinking and planning for floor displays at grocery stores. Now,
Mhm.
everyone's shopping at grocery right now, and those numbers are through the roof, but what's the situation in the store? Are we still looking for displays? Is there point of sale? Is there any kind of cross merchandising going on, or is it just get the beer out and let's survive?
It's not, cross merchandising isn't something I call an opportunity now. There's not really a promotional element to it. It's
Right.
just an availability kind of push.
Exactly.
And so when you walk into a store, you'll see places that used to be programmed for this or that now may have some availability. And so our retail partners are like, look, I don't want anything empty. Your stuff's great and it sells. Let's build something here. And just like you and I had spoken before, our job before is to disrupt the shopping experience, right? And
Right.
so how many times can you make someone look at your stack of something and say no? Because eventually, hopefully they'll say yes. And
Exactly.
we're giving them lots of opportunities to say yes.
Good. That's great. I mean, I know you guys just launched a new brand, Bub's Hard Seltzer.
Mhm.
What is it like launching a brand under these conditions? How has your strategy changed?
One of the, I guess, sad points of all of this, of which there are a lot of challenges, no doubt, is that the resets didn't happen.
Mhm.
And that brand had found its way into the planogram for the spring reset. And I believe they're at this point just delayed, not fully canceled. I'm sure Archie can speak a bit more directly to that since he's in conversations constantly. But as it would stand under normal circumstances, it would be across shelves statewide right now. We're still hopeful this summer is going to see us there.
Good. I mean, getting into a spring reset is such a huge win. So
Oh,
It is.
especially with the seltzer, is like look behind our windows here, and like it's seltzer time. And as this has happened, having spoken to distributors and retailers, like seltzer hasn't slowed down at all. It's still rolling in a big way. And like Justin said, we had homes for things, and now we're trying to do the best we can in retailers that don't necessarily planogram, and get stacks in the ones where it's coming as soon as the planogram happens.
Mhm.
Most of our biggest retailers are now seeing, if the government in North Carolina is going to say phase one is up, in a week or in 10 days, they're going to start setting shelves before that. they're putting different kind of parameters in place where it used to be how many people can you bring to my aisle and how quick can we knock this out. Now it's all right. You need to come at 4 in the morning or 5 in the morning, so everyone's gone by the time the senior hour starts for those folks to come and have their time to shop. And oh, by the way, you're not bringing your army. You're 1 or 2 folks per distributor because we've got to have space. And you're going to have your gloves on. You're going to have your masks on. And we're going to knock it out. One thing that's been interesting and cool for whether it's a new brand or any brand is that it used to be a geographic kind of lineup with the way they'd look to do resets. Now they're almost starting at the top of the volume list and going, let's knock out our most important stores first, our biggest stores first. And if you have to drive a little between this one and that because we're doing 2 in a day, that is what it is. But we just want things on shelf where it matters most as soon as possible.
Well, that makes a ton of sense.
Yep.
And back to the Bubs launch. I mean, without the ability to sample, what are you guys doing to try to raise awareness about it?
So to that end, one of the things we did to pivot with the taproom going away and this whole team-oriented piece of manpower in our bartenders and taproom staff is we set up a delivery service. So a full website with all of our products from other really great artisans around the Charlotte area. And we found in building that site out, and it occurred to us just what an incredible opportunity it was to take all of the things that we do as a company, the coffee, the beer, the seltzer, and present it to the customer in such a way where they were getting this whole look at what Sycamore is in this refreshed light. And Bubs has done very well through that. It's a top 10 product for us and what we're delivering right now. We're seeing a lot more activity on social media around it. And while the sales are certainly not what they would be with statewide grocery store placement right now, the energy behind that brand is growing quickly. And that feels quite good. It was the silver lining, I guess, if there was one.
That's great. I mean, great to, build the interest, build the knowledge, build the awareness. And
Absolutely.
Whenever we're ready to come back, I know it'll be there. So that's great to hear. So you're offering delivery from the tap room. How far of a radius do you cover?
So we're doing it by zip code right now, and we've expanded the footprint one more time. As it stands, I think it covers the population base of over 1 million people. We've got 5 different vehicles and drivers moving at any given time, and it's really quite robust. At the back end, we put route optimization in and inventory controls. And it's a good website. I'm proud of it. We worked hard on it. And
how long did it take?
The only way we'd be able to deliver that much product is with all this in the back end.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah,
it's quite an undertaking. How long did it take you to get that up and running?
A week.
Wow. A normal circumstances, what that's like.
It was a stressful week, but we got it up and running. And it has been refined.
Good. I mean, that's normally like 3 months worth of work.
That's right.
And I'm sure that was not normally allowed in North Carolina's alcohol codes under normal circumstances, right?
Delivery was. It's just the kind of thing that I don't think anyone really had any cause to tap into. Mm-hmm. People were clearly coming to tap rooms and buying beer in grocery stores as per usual. And the idea of driving a van 15 miles down the road to bring someone a few 4-packs just, I think, naturally hadn't really occurred to any breweries. But it's the perfect way to keep our team in motion and try and maintain some measure of sales.
Great. Do you think you'll keep it up?
We talk about that all the time.
Yeah.
I think on some level we likely will. It's still quite early yet. We've been running it for, I think, 3 weeks at this point, and it's going very well. Coming out the other side of this, I don't personally expect that this is going to be a V in the recovery. I think it's going to be a prolonged U, and I think it'll be slow to get back to where we were before. And for that reason, I'm happy to kind of put a pin in that question, just see what happens. For the time being, though, I'm really pleased that we have it as one of our sales vehicles.
That's great.
Yeah.
I mean, Archie, what have you guys been doing to get through with like e-commerce? Is there anything that your team has been able to do to make contact with things like Drizzly or other platforms?
That's an everyday endeavor,
Yeah.
and when this first started going down, before it had really started to happen, I had been really working hard to connect with Instacart, for example, and had gotten through to India and then got transferred to the Silicon Valley and talking to a warm body and waiting for the next call. And then this happens. And now if you call Instacart, like it's like, hey, thanks for calling, click. Like there's not anyone there on the other line now. And so that's one. Drizzly just actually connected finally on Friday. They
Cool.
sent me something to set up today. One of the things I'm doing is setting up our items in their system, and so that's pretty exciting. Some of the local vendors, it's a matter of, hey, you have us available, but like where are you getting your images, and
Right.
how do we get those updated? So that's been a chain by chain operation. One of our biggest partners, we got everything uploaded in their format, and it's worked really well. So I feel like that's something that, like delivery, it's going to live well beyond this. So like
Definitely.
figuring out how to be better and better at it is something that we're going to have to do all the time.
Great. Now, what's the general feeling in North Carolina right now? Are people obeying social distancing, wearing masks, being careful, or do you think people are starting to get a little stir crazy? What are you seeing in your neighborhoods?
I think both of those is true. I think people are feeling very stir crazy, but are still quite mindful of the reason that we've all been at home for this long. And I'd like to think that everyone's being more balanced about it than not at this point. I know I personally am very ready for this to be over and to get back out, and everyone I know feels the exact same way.
Mm-hmm.
But as it stands, I don't see too much. I guess I don't know what you call it. Just people still have patience for it. No one's really hit a wall, from what I can tell, and I'm really pleased by that.
Good. I mean, has your governor made any announcements about what reopening will be like?
I believe at this point they've put a plan in place, which is more what it will look like than any dramatic changes that have been enacted. My wife, Sarah and I started the brewery together. She's on a committee here in Charlotte with another group of business owners from varying businesses, and they're discussing it constantly, what it will look like. And we, of course, internally are talking about it constantly, like how will we run a tap room, how will we run a beer garden in a responsible manner and ensure safety for everyone, our employees and guests. And I have several conversations about it every day. And that's probably a real sign of people starting to think about the other side, and a reflection of ready to be done with this. So hopefully sooner rather than later.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely agree. Now, what have your internal conversations been like? Do you take out tables? Do you cut capacity? Like, how do you run a beer garden when we need to stay apart from each other?
Sure. To that end, we're really fortunate. We have a very large outdoor space. We're on a little over an acre and a half, and most of that is outdoor for sure. And that allows us to spread tables and have table service, and things like that are going to work in our favor in ensuring safety for sure. Outside of that, I'm talking about things like UV light sterilization in the bathrooms, and of course, masks is what everyone's thinking about right now, and all the same conversations that probably every restaurant and brewery we're having as well, and just trying to make sense of how to continue to sell beer at a distance. And I don't know. I'm glad that it's warm out right now, because if this were the middle of winter and everyone wants to be inside, it would be a completely different challenge. But if this is over sooner rather than later and we start drinking beer in beer gardens again, we'll be able to space people. And that feels good.
Good. I mean, drinking a beer in a beer garden right now sounds like maybe the only thing I would like to do.
Sounds great.
Funny. Well, we know that your business is considered essential, so you still have the team coming in to make beer. What does that practice look like logistically? Do you designate people for different squads? How do you do that?
Sure. So very early on, what we did is we put anyone who was essential towards brewing or packaging beer kind of in that group, and they were the ones who would continue to go to our production facility. We have two buildings. One is our retail presence, and there's a bit of barrel aging that goes on there, and the other is the primary production facility. And anyone, myself included, that worked there in office or sales or any other capacity was told to work from home, work remotely, and we kept our production team together and working, and they were the only ones in the building. As it stands now, that endures. So I've been working at home primarily. Archie's the same way. The sales team is working with our distributor partners and the off-prem, and I've, much like many people, learned what it means to work remotely, and what you thought you couldn't do before, we're getting through much the same as we're doing now with webcam and phone calls. And yeah, it's working. It'll be nice to reunite, but it's working.
It would be nice to see other people other than my spouse. Not that he's not great. He's delightful. We've had a nice time, but it's just been the two of us for like 8 weeks.
Yeah.
Funny. Now, like one of the prevailing stories that we hear from the off-premise world is that people are going to trusted brands and they're buying in big packs. Has this held true for you guys?
I'd say that it has, Jess. We, when this thing first started happening and that's when that conversation kind of kicked right away. Right. And we had a lot of success, and we had folks out working stores. And then one of the things that kind of occurred to us along the way is, well, maybe we're in people's group of trusted brands, right? And because we're seeing pull at retail, and we have a wide range of offerings where we're somewhat famous for IPA, but we have award-winning lager, and we've got a blonde. So like there's kind of something for everyone. And that I think helps people find themselves a level of comfort with what they're pulling. And so in a short amount of time, I think we found ourselves in that kind of segment. And so that's been a positive for us as a company. And to be able to, like Justin said, like you can keep people employed in production, but if no one's buying it, you don't need to produce it. And they're pulling it. And so it's been great all the way around, the way our team has pulled together, and the fruit of their labor is kind of something that happens on a daily basis.
That's good. That must feel really good. Mm-hmm. What is keeping you both up at night? And that's a loaded question, but.
Many things, always. I don't know. Sycamore as a brewery has been rapid growth since day one. This whole project has gone so much faster than I ever thought that it would. And coming into this, we had a lot of further growth planned, further additions to the packaging line and new markets. And we have a new taproom that we're going to be moving into in a year and a half that's still moving forward. And for me, probably if I had to boil it down to one thing, it's just the capital for all of these projects and the timing, because we still want to go through with them. And thankfully, the company is still profitable. We're still in the black. Clearly, without taproom, that's a different number, but it's still profitable, which is great. And so I guess if I'm kept up by anything, it's really just when do we kind of resume these projects? As we grow our distribution footprint and as our beer sells in greater and greater volume, all the things that come for any brewery, building team and building infrastructure are critical. And when to put those in place now. And that's that crystal ball thing that we all wish we had about when this is going to be done. And it's just kind of how do you throttle growth based on what expectations are for coming out the other side of this.
That makes a ton of sense. Archie, what about you?
Well, I think it's, you spend so much time and it happens over years to build a team that, as people you're crazy about, as coworkers you're crazy about, as the kind of folks that deliver results. are unique. And to have something like this happen and all of a sudden potentially threaten what's been built in terms of team and culture is terrifying. And, talking with our folks, and one of the things that's changed is I think for us as people too, is you go, wait, we don't have to always be in the same room to meet. I can talk to my extended family on Zoom. Well, that works for sales meetings too. Although it's great to see sales teams together across multiple states in the same room. But, early on, one of our things that we always said was like, hey, the government views us as essential. Our job is to remain essential to anyone you ask, right? And with that, when this is over, the same people who were in our mid-February sales meeting, we want in that room when the smoke's clearing. And that's what we've been operating with from the beginning.
Great. And how many people are on your sales team?
We have 7 besides myself.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it's a good sized team to keep together.
Yep. And so it's, having them work in the stores all the time. One of our folks has become dispatch on the home delivery squad. And so it's all hands on deck doing whatever you have to do.
Yeah. All hands on deck all the time.
Right.
Certainly the case here as well.
Yep.
Well, guys, this has been a really great chat and I really appreciate your time. Hopefully we can all have a beer in person soon.
That sounds great.
That'd be great.